everybody. Welcome to a very special episode of Drew the Catholic. As you can see, the studio is packed out today. We have Gigi and Clay from my local pregnancy resource center, Life Choices, on today. And we're going to talk about all things to do with the Pregnancy Resource Center, how they got involved with this ministry, how they've been doing that, and they've been doing a great job there. We're going to talk about the state of things since Roe has been overturned, what they're like nationally in our state, and how you guys can be more involved in the fight for life on your own, in your own terms, wherever you may live. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you'll stay with us for the whole ride, and we'll see where this goes. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I mean, we're kind of, I told you it was small, so is it as small as I made it sound? Because I think when you watch an episode, it feels like, my mom has said it felt a lot bigger. And then you get here and you're like, oh no, we don't have much space. So.
It works.
It works good.
Yeah.
Good. Cool.
I'm short.
I was thinking about this too. I was like, Clay's the actual space challenge because he's so tall. How tall are you?
5'20".
Yeah. I mean, it's really funny.
It's my standard answer.
And I'm 5'7", so when I'm next to you, I'm just like, whoa, But yeah, I'm sure it helps with doing maintenance and changing light bulbs and things like that. It's like you were made for it, right?
Yeah, it works both ways. Sometimes it helps.
You bonk your head a little bit too.
Yeah.
I just had to get creative and learn to climb things and put myself in danger that way just to make it happen. Yeah. Well, cool. It's so great to have both of you on, and you both in different ways have been involved in this ministry for a long time. So maybe Gigi, if you want to start, just tell us, how did you get involved at Life Choices, and what's your role there, and what's a day for you look like?
Well, I've been involved since 2009, so I've been there a little bit, and I'm the executive director. So I kind of oversee everything going on, and lately there's been quite a bit going on.
How long has Life Choices been around?
I think this is our 39th year.
Oh, wow.
I believe.
So yeah, that's a long
38th.
time.
Yeah, it's been here a long time. It started as Crisis Pregnancy Center.
Okay.
As a response to the Roe V Wade decision. And it was founded by a few local people, a couple guys and a woman, I believe, founded it and incorporated in 1984.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And as I said, it was kind of an alternative to what was happening with all the abortion going on. Right.
Yeah, and it's been around ever since then. That's really a long-standing ministry, and around pretty early on in the whole pregnancy center game, huh? Yeah. So they've seen some stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And changes.
Yeah. And lots of changes. Yeah, even in our own state, right? I mean, I feel like, so we live in Colorado. Most of you, I think, know that. You could probably find my house if you've been listening for a while. I talk to you openly about it, but Colorado is a pretty liberal state when it comes to abortion policy, and it's only gotten more so that way over recent years. So I can imagine that's presented quite a challenge.
Very.
So you've been involved since, and how long have you been involved?
7 years I've been on the board.
Okay. Awesome. Wow. And so you're on the board. What does that look like from your perspective? So obviously you're involved in the day-to-day, you're running the center, you're training volunteers, and then from the board's perspective, what's your role there?
Oh, it's more policy and procedure type things, hiring. We've got a couple of new positions that we've just put on, kind of in answer to things that have been going on here lately in this climate. But yeah, just overseeing those types of things, and the board makes all those kind of decisions, hiring, raises, who's doing what type of things. Fundraising.
I was going to say, I feel like the other angle for you too is you and I are in the Night to Columbus together, and from that angle, we've done a lot of fundraising, and I know you're involved in some other efforts outside of that. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Clay is everywhere. We're going to have you back on again just to talk about that, because Clay, you're everywhere, and you do so much. Yeah, so it's cool to see both ends of that, like working from the nights and fundraising and doing all that from the board, but then the day-to-day.
Well, and we are a 501c3, so everything we get is through donations and fundraising. Right. We have done a few grants in the past, but we don't get money from the government. We don't take money from the government because we usually don't agree on how it's going to be spent, and so we do a lot of fundraising.
Mm-hmm. So it's mostly, would you say most of your local support is from like churches and individuals or businesses to some degree?
All of the above.
All the above,
Yeah.
absolutely. We are so blessed. We've got just such a fantastic support group surrounding us. It's just amazing. It's amazing to be a part of and amazing to watch. And it's just, you can just see God's hand in it everywhere you look. It's amazing.
It is
I keep
amazing.
saying it's fun to watch God work.
Yeah. The banquets are really fun as a result too. I remember this
Yeah.
last year. I mean, it was packed in there because we've been to a couple different types of banquets for fundraising and this and that, but that was by far one of the most like passionate, active, full banquets I think in our community.
That
Which
was a good one.
it was, yeah.
Yep.
And that makes me happy about our community. And like to see this many people turn out for this cause
Yes.
is good. It says we're in a good place, even if at large in our state
Right.
it's a little bit tougher. Yeah.
Right.
So let's talk about that. Obviously, just the whole line of work is difficult, right? Like we're dealing with abortion, very difficult, sensitive topic. But then especially when it's no longer just an ideological battle at the Thanksgiving table, but this is a real person's life that you're interacting with that's facing this challenge. Obviously from the outside, we all have our views on it, our opinions and this and that. But what was it like to actually have to get your hands dirty and get involved in this in some young woman's life who's considering this choice? I mean, for a lot of people, they might have had that theoretical encounter in their head, or maybe they've had an actual conversation with someone about the issue of abortion, but they've never really had the opportunity to interact with someone that's considering that and navigate that. So maybe, Gigi, can you speak to what that's like?
Well, I think it's very important, and that's where a lot of our training comes in for our volunteers and our staff, is about that we are there for the woman. And we are not there to judge. We are not there to make those calls. We're there to help support her, to speak truth to her that she may not be hearing anywhere else. And so really one of the main taglines is we are there to minister and not manipulate. And we really try very hard to hold fast to that and really let the Holy Spirit lead us when we are meeting with someone, because as you said, it can be messy. And every situation is different. And so whenever any of us are meeting with that woman who is afraid and unsure and finds herself in an impossible situation, first thing we do is listen.
That's beautiful. I mean, I think that really is the key, right? Because there's all sorts of fears and challenges. And I remember that I did the training. It's very good. And it makes you step back and go like, okay, this is an issue that can definitely get tempers up. But yeah, when you're dealing with someone in the thick of it, usually, and you can speak to this better than I could, usually it's not because it's usually a fear of how they're going to handle having a child, and maybe it's a financial situation or a family situation or a relationship. That's the issue, right? Is that kind of mostly what you're seeing?
Most of the time, yes, it is. And finances, I would say, are a big part of it. I'd say another huge determining factor is the dad involved. And there's statistics out there that if dad is involved, it's like 98% that she will keep that child.
That's crazy.
But when you've got a dad that is either not involved at all or is saying whatever you want to do,
your choice. Yeah, kind of
I'll
passive.
support
Total
you.
cop out.
Yeah,
and we try. We have men that will be able to speak to those men, but even if not, if they're open to it, we'll try and tell them, it is a cop out. We don't say that directly, but it, by not making a choice, you're making a choice.
Right. I think that is a huge part of it too, right? Because I think so often we can focus on just, it's the child is a child, not a clump of cells. Like if most people are thinking from the political argumentation standpoint, but this really is a family issue at some point, right?
Oh,
like
yes.
you said, I mean, 98%, I think that is the stat, right?
Yep.
98% of the time, if the dad's on board to keep the baby is kept and cared for.
And that's one thing too that's so great. We do ultrasounds. And so if dad comes and he gets to see that ultrasound and see that heartbeat and maybe see that little finger twitch, it makes it real. And, there's been so many times in that room we have just seen the whole situation change.
And that's probably like a palpable feeling, I'm guessing.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. You can just see it in their faces, I'm sure. And
I love hearing the stories.
Yeah.
I just love it.
I remember,
one thing that the secular world, has this image of pregnancy centers, crisis pregnancy centers, family resource centers, all of whatever name they're going by, that they are on this mission to convince that girl to not have an abortion. And then once we've accomplished that, we're gonna send
Leave her
you
to
out
the
the
wolves,
door.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it just could not be possibly farther from the truth.
Right.
We are there to give them all the information that they need to make this decision.
And support them through it.
Right. Right.
That might be a very strange thing to hear. I'm a devout Catholic. For me to say that, we are just giving you information in what you do. We're not going to judge you. We're not, if you have that abortion, that's your call. Now, when that happens and you have issues with it after the fact, we're there for you then too.
Right.
We have this Surrender the Secret program, which is, I think, one of the most important things. I couldn't put a most important label on anything we do out there, but it's huge. It's huge to be able to do that, and just it's life-changing.
Yeah,
it's absolutely life-changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think let's speak to that for a second. I think that's a huge thing, right? I rember studying and learning about all of this. I was shocked by the level and the statistics on how many women, regret having an abortion, but go through so much emotional and psychological and sometimes even physical trauma from that.
Oh.
And, we're not allowed to talk about that, it feels like, right? So what's it like?
Yeah.
That must just be eye-opening for people to be like, freeing, right? To have wrestled with that pain and feel like there's no avenue for it. Like maybe I'm the only one going through it.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Women do feel that way. The statistic has changed. It's 1 in 4 women now have had an abortion by the age of 45.
Oh, wow.
It was 1 in 3. It's gone down. So that's a good thing. But yeah, we let them know, if that is what you decide, like Clay said, that we're here to support you after that. Surrendering the Secret is an 8-week Bible study that takes them through healing that heartache. And so many times when, I'm sure you've been in a crisis at some point in your life, and this is all you can see. It's
tunnel vision.
It's very tunnel vision. And then all of a sudden when that crisis has passed, or so you think, now you can take a breath, and sometimes women have the, oh, what have I done? And we've seen people come in literally within 1 week of having an abortion. And I have had classes with women that had them done in the early 50s, 60s, before they were legal. Literally in a back alley, and having to reconcile all of that and go through it. And this class just brings miraculous healing. It is just unbelievable. It is steeped in scripture. It is all about God's forgiveness. It is all about being able to deal with what happened. It's not pushing it aside. It's actually, it's painful to bring it all back up and deal with it. But by the end, they have acknowledged that it was a baby. They have given that child a name. There's a memorial service that happens. It's powerful.
That's
it's
really
beautiful. And they know that now that child is in the arms of Jesus, and they're going to meet that child someday. It is amazing.
And like what a dignified way to do it, right? To give the child a name, give them that human dignity, have a memorial service. We have a memorial gravestone outside of St. Mary's, our parish, same thing. And I've known people who, I know someone who went to the Walk for Life and saw that, and they were brought to tears by just that simple thing of having just a memorial stone of just like, because they had been impacted by abortion. It was a man, so it was, and they had said, I never knew I needed a place to grieve this. And then now there's a place to grieve it, right? And
and many times they're not given permission to grieve
it.
And that's what happens with Surrendering the Secret, because they've never been allowed to grieve the loss of their baby.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like it's, you kind of spoke to it earlier. There's a whole side of these issues that in the public spectrum just don't get much airtime. One of them is, pro-life people helping women during and after the fact, and then the other half is the impact that abortion has on people who choose to do it. We don't get to air that at all.
Well,
it
and
seems
there's a whole new realization out there that abortion affects men too.
Yeah.
It takes two.
Mm-hmm.
There's a man and a woman involved in this, and there's so many guys out there that carry that guilt around, whether they paid for it, they pushed for it.
And we don't deal with emotional stuff well as it is as men usually. So
right.
That's a really tough thing.
Yeah, it buries. Yeah, I went to a men's conference in Dallas, not last summer, summer before.
Yeah.
And that was one of the huge eye-opening things. Well, there was a lot of eye-opening things about that conference. One was just the number of men out there who are realizing how important their job is as a dad. But one of the huge things was they had a period of time where they allowed any guys there that had been involved in abortion to go talk with somebody and just let it go,
Wow.
bring it out and stuff. And it was powerful. It was huge.
Well, and I'd like to speak into that too. Like, if a woman out there is listening that has gone through that heartache and carrying that burden and that guilt and that shame, she doesn't have to.
Mm-mm.
She does not have to. She can let that go. God wants her to let it go. And, we believe, I mean, God tells us that he works all things for good for those who love the Lord. And he'll work that for good too. And it sounds insane. It doesn't sound possible, but it is.
Yeah.
And he will.
That's the mercy of God, right?
Yes.
I think that's one of the beautiful things about this ministry and about every pregnancy resource center. That's, most of them are, I mean, sure, there's a few that are secular, but it seems like by and large, this is a Christian movement. That being rooted in that mercy of God, I think, is so important. Because, I mean, obviously God is just, and there's truth, and there's boundaries, and there's sins, but that's the core of the gospel and of who God is and who Jesus Christ is. It's like we've all crossed those boundaries. Yeah. Some of them, as like Paul was a murderer, and he was then an apostle. So I think that's the mercy of God that's available for all of us,
Absolutely.
And that's probably the key. From my exposure to what you guys are involved in, that seems like that's the key that you have to constantly be aware of, is how radical and generous the mercy of God is. Because, I mean, you're hearing some stuff that's tough and frustrating and difficult. And I mean, even with like some of the men's ministry stuff we were trying to start, there was just so much like, man, people's lives are so messy. And, then you're kind of thinking like, wow, my life is messy sometimes, but not like that. But to operate out of that mercy for people and look at them as, a human being that Jesus loves. Yeah. I think is so.
It's the Gigi and everybody down there, everybody that has that job, I just have so much respect for, because their heart is just on the line every day. You've been doing it since when?
14 years.
Most. What's the life expectancy of a volunteer
director
resource center?
Years?
Like 2 or 3 years.
Really?
Seriously.
Wow.
Burnout's a real thing.
I can imagine.
Huge drain.
Yeah.
I mean, I kid you not. One of my first experiences at Life Choices was when Knights of Columbus. We went over. We were having an ultrasound program where the Knights of Columbus will raise the money, and I mean, we just did this for Life Choices, but I was kind of going back and forth talking to them about that, and I went in that building one morning, and I could feel it. Something was off when I went through the front door. I could literally feel it. It's like there was this dark
heaviness.
I hadn't talked to one. I could literally feel it, and I found out that they just lost one. They just found out that one of the gals that they really had, they just loved her, and everybody thought the world of her, and they just found out that she had had an abortion, and that hurts.
Yeah,
that drains you. That drains. It's just, and to be able to come back tomorrow and
and do it
put
all
your
over
heart out
again,
there
yeah.
again. I
Mhm.
just
Yeah, because you're not
Yeah.
just offering a pamphlet and see you later. Like, you're getting involved in these women's
Yeah.
lives and
Yep.
and really getting to know them and caring about them and learning about their situations. And that's, yeah, you're deeply investing in
Yeah.
each and every person.
and
Yes,
it's
sir.
the one of the main we spoke about the program the training that we have. It's the main one that we use is called Equipped to Serve, and it is so good. It's
It
a
is so good.
3-day
3-day.
program.
Okay.
And I finally was able to go to it last year, and I thought, how can this take 3 days? It's like, I don't understand how
And
this
we don't
could
even go through
possibly-
all of it.
Oh, man.
Oh my gosh, it was absolutely amazing. But it's all about, you don't, not judging you. So I think that's another thing that the secular world thinks, that all crisis pregnancy centers, we're all about, we're gonna preach
Yeah, we're gonna
God
change
to
your
you.
mind
We're
and
gonna
convert
we're
you.
gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna convert you
Yeah.
and get you to not have an abortion at the same time.
Right.
And when someone walks through that door and they're in the middle of this crisis, that tunnel vision,
Yeah.
they're not ready to talk about
Right.
anything but what
No.
is
They don't
right
want to
in
see a
front
Bible.
of them.
Yeah.
Right smack dab in front of them. It's just beating them over the head. They're
Right.
scared. They're
Yeah.
worried, all of those things and stuff. And of course, at some point we hope that we can speak the truth to them about
Mm-hmm.
God's love for them, and no matter what. And
Sometimes we get to,
Mhm.
Oh,
in
absolutely.
that room. There are times that again, you let the Holy Spirit lead, and you ask questions and listen well. And there's many times that we can say, "Can we pray for you?"
That's, yeah. And then what an incredible, vulnerable moment. But I would guess that by and large, most of the time, you're probably not getting that opportunity to have that conversation. And a lot of times they might come in and you might never see them again. Is that
Right.
right? You
That's
have a lot
true.
of women that you don't ever hear from. So you don't even know what happened. That's probably another tough component of just like the mystery of like, I don't know what happened, right?
right.
We usually try and have it's a pretty long visit.
Okay.
We usually try and have that conversation of.
Hmm.
Not all of them are open though
Right.
to answering your questions, and
Yeah.
it just depends on each individual person. But
Hmm.
if there's a little crack,
Yeah.
we definitely dive in and just try and be there for them.
Right.
And
And I'm
you'd
sure.
be surprised how many times when you
Hmm.
ask, "Can we pray?" they'll be like, "Yes."
Really?
Mhm.
Wow. That's good. That's
People-
good. I mean,
people
when you're in
know.
that moment, yeah.
They know.
They know we're Christian, but then when you're in that moment too, I'm guessing a lot
Well,
of people are open to something they might
What
not
I mean
normally.
is that
Right.
they know what they need.
Oh, I
They
see
know
you're
what they're
saying. Yeah.
missing. They
Somewhere deep down,
somewhere
yeah,
in there
might not be
they know.
admitted. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things too is, I mean, so you've been doing this for that long, but we have a lot of volunteers that have been around for a while too, don't we? I mean, just
Mhm.
amazing, powerful, strong women that have.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, I
Yeah.
cannot imagine. I mean,
And-
like you said, the toll it takes onto you.
Well, a lot of our volunteers are doing the parenting classes.
Okay.
And so they're dealing with the moms and dads sometimes that are choosing to parent.
Gotcha.
And so that's another
that's a whole other
facet
challenge.
of
Yeah.
what we do. And so to speak into what Clay was saying, a lot of times the secular they sort of accuse us of we don't care about the woman, all we care about is the baby, and that is not true. We are there. First of all, everything we do is free, which is why we do so many fundraisers.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is free. So the ultrasound is free, the pregnancy test is free, the parenting classes are free.
They're phenomenal too. I actually took some of them.
You were a
I mean,
client there.
we
I
were,
know.
yeah, we were a client. I mean, and that just speaks to the level of service and information. Because I mean, we were going to our OBGYN and we're like, "Hello, this is our first time having a baby. Can we get some info?" And he's like, "Here's a pamphlet. See you later." And I'm like, "That's okay. That's it."
That's
so
helpful.
we went to Life
Big help.
Choices and we took like multiple classes and then felt really prepared. I mean, lots of good information on
Yeah.
all sorts of things that would be
Oh.
good for any parent, even if you're not like someone who didn't want to be a parent. I mean, we
Yes.
benefited from it tremendously because our OB was like, "That's not what you're here for. Pay me this exorbitant amount of money, and I'm just gonna say everything's fine."
That's not my job.
Yeah. Which
How many different classes are there?
Yeah.
Oh, hundreds.
hundreds, yeah.
Literally hundreds.
That
If you-
catalog
if
is
you
thick,
want-
yeah.
It is.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
and obviously you pick and choose what you want out of it,
Mhm.
but it's
Well, and one of
cool.
the other great things that we've been able to do for the last, I would say, 4 years is through a grant through the Pueblo Diocese.
Mm.
We are able, they called one day out of the blue and he says, "We got some money. What do you need?" And I'm like, wow, this doesn't happen every day.
I like this. Yeah.
What do we need? And at that point, we actually were doing okay with like our day-to-day and stuff. But I said, we need car seats.
Yeah.
And because they have to be brand new.
They're
You can't
expensive.
do a used car seat. It has to be registered and all kinds of things now. And so he was like, great, how much do you need? And I told him, and they have donated to us for, like I said, at least 4 years. And we give out car seats up to $150 to parents that are keeping their baby.
I think we did that program too.
It's amazing. I mean,
It is really nice. Yeah, it's great.
so we are there to support them and walk them through the whole thing. We also have lots of different references throughout the community for doctors and helping them get signed up with WIC or whatever they need.
I think that's a key. I mean, that's exactly what you were speaking to, Clay, is there's this perception, which is completely false, that we don't care what happens when they walk out the door. But it seems to me that, I mean, most of the efforts are obviously that initial interaction, but then how can we make you choose life victoriously? And like, whether it's, keeping the baby or adoption, we want to make sure you're going to be a good parent, that if you had issues growing up, that you don't have to repeat those. You don't have to feel financially unsupported. We can connect you to these resources and all these things that you need, and that is the whole picture, right? Because now it's not just we got to keep the baby alive.
Yeah.
It's but then we also want the baby to have good parents and thrive. Yeah, and we want the parents to be healthy and love that mission they're stepping into. And I think, man, that's such a beautiful picture, because we care about families. Like, we care about turning these people's lives into strong, healthy, thriving families. Which, you don't. It's so sad that's
the goal.
It boggles my mind to hear. So when Colorado made the announcement about the 2 bills that they just passed, 3 bills that they just passed, they're standing up there. Well, they're standing up there saying how the pregnancy center. Well, and there's you hear it all the time. It's all over the internet. The pregnancy centers, they're lying to you. They're not. They just
harming women.
We're harming women. Yes, that's one of my favorites. It's like, that's what we're
and
all
we're also
about.
Those darn free diapers, man.
Right.
So much harm.
Right.
Oh yeah. Well,
How dare you?
Actually, that was one of the things I said. They give away everything for free. And I'm like,
yeah. Yeah.
okay.
That's rich. Yeah.
And we're targeting the underprivileged. I mean, and the list just goes on. It
helping
is
poor people,
absolutely
just
absurd.
wretched. Yeah.
And we're also not pregnancy centers anymore. We're anti-abortion clinics now.
Yeah.
So
The abusive language. I mean, that's a whole social issue with tons of implications in almost every facet of our lives now. But just the abusive language, I find, in that discussion.
They're afraid of us. They're obviously afraid of
are.
us. I mean, it's why do you lie about someone just constantly and give them these labels that are so degrading? And if you're not, the only reason you do that is because you're afraid of them.
the bills that Clay was talking about that got passed, I don't know if you're even familiar with them. And
let's speak to those, because a lot of people probably don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
honestly, unless you're in this industry, you probably aren't familiar. But as you mentioned, Drew, Colorado is one of the most leading liberal abortion laws.
It's like a badge of honor for our state to lead the charge.
Oh yeah.
Yes, we already have abortion up to birth in this state
for any reason, right? Elective, or does it have to be
pretty much for any reason?
Okay.
Wrap your head around that.
Yeah, like
for a
up to
second.
right up to birth.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be a minute before the child's born, and they can choose to kill the child. Yeah, to abort the pregnancy. Wow.
So one of the bills that did pass was it's about deceptive marketing, and it is specifically only to pregnancy centers. And as I was reading through this, one of the arguments was we already have a deceptive advertising law in place in Colorado. It's not okay to advertise deceptively.
Right.
We all agree
like
with that.
Like you couldn't advertise that you offer abortions, and when they get there, you go, "Ha, gotcha." So,
and that's what they're trying to say, that pregnancy centers are luring women through their websites, whatever, saying that they offer abortion. But it's very clear on our site and most of the centers I know, all of the centers I know, that say we do not refer for or perform abortions.
We will give you information.
So what's happened with that is it did pass, but it's only for the pregnancy centers. So it doesn't include the abortion clinics
So they can be
who are
deceptive,
who are deceiving you,
Yeah.
who aren't even allowing you to see the ultrasound when you're in there.
And there's a reason for that.
Yeah. Yes. And so that did pass, and then the other one that was attached to that was, a lot of people don't know, there was an abortion reversal pill.
That's right.
And so the way that works is, with the abortion pill, it's a 2-step process. You take the first pill, you wait 48 to 72 hours, and then follow up with the second pill. If a woman has taken that first pill and decides, I made a mistake, I can't go through with this, I don't want to abort this baby anymore, there was an abortion reversal pill, which is progesterone, which women have been taking for 60 some years, and it's a safe drug. It's FDA approved, all of those things. And the state of Colorado, who are not medical people,
Right.
have decided that it's a dangerous drug, and they have banned it.
Wow. A drug that's actually safe and actually effective.
It's actually a
Yeah.
drug they give to women who struggle with miscarriages so that they will retain the pregnancy.
Wow. So, I mean, at this point, it's almost ideologically from that political agenda. It's not even about choice,
absolutely.
right? Like they've been saying, that's kind of been for a long time. The moniker was it's just a woman's choice, but now it seems to me just the ideology of it from that side has progressed to not even being about like a woman should have the right to choose, but just like abortion for any reason at any time as often as possible is a like moral good. Can you guys speak to that? I mean, when Roe V Wade was first put into effect at the Supreme Court, and I mean you'll probably know better than me, so correct me if I'm misspeaking or if I'm wrong. Most people that supported it was like as infrequent as possible, as limited as possible, not the ideal. And now it's shifted culturally to as often as possible, to be celebrated. You know, there's sites like Shout Your Abortion where they want people to almost get like a public testimony.
It's a form of birth control.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, it's...
Yeah. That's a huge shift, though. I mean, obviously, even back when it was as infrequently as possible, as limited as possible, we'd still take issue with that and want that to be zipped all the way up. But what do you think, you know, from your guys' perspective, being in the weeds, what do you think is causing that shift? Like, what's the motivation?
I mean, I don't know exactly what's causing it, but I do believe that just over the last 5 decades, that the envelope just keeps getting pushed a little further, and things keep getting a little more accepted and a little more accepted. And when you realize that the last 50 years, generations growing up have never not known abortion to be the law of the land, they don't understand at all why all of a sudden it's banned again in many states.
Right.
I honestly believe too that it's got a lot to do with the internet. People, you know, watch these things and just nobody's going to tell me what to do with my body, and they stop thinking after that point, and they hear it, they're bombarded with it. I mean, it's everywhere. It's everywhere you look.
The conversation has definitely been shut down. I mean, it's not one that you can publicly have in a politically correct way, right? And so from our perspective, trying to approach people even just to have a conversation and flesh out the differences, there's almost like this, nope, shut it down, yell at them, they're crazy, they're wrong, they don't, you know, they're deceiving women. There's almost this like antagonism.
And people just swallow that and believe it. They don't do any research or you know, whatever the word is to verify these things. They just like,
there's a couple of reasons too. It's big money. Abortion is a multi-billion-dollar industry. I mean, billions and billions of dollars. I just got a publication sent to me about all these huge corporations that you would know all of them. We've unfortunately done business with all of them that give billions of dollars to the abortion industry.
Right.
So it's a moneymaker. Also, when you're that woman, scale it down to that woman that walks in who is all of a sudden somewhere she didn't expect to be, all those things, it's easy to hear what you want to hear, what you think you need to hear at that moment.
And if there's a lot of money involved on the end of the facilities, they'll tell you what
Well,
you
and
need
you're
to hear to go
right.
through
You're
with
hearing,
it. So that, yeah.
yes, you keep hearing that it's not a bad thing, and
Right.
you'll never have to think about this again, and on and on. And
Yeah.
then after they go through it and all the shame and everything else, they do think about it constantly. And many women suffer. It's a post-traumatic stress.
Right. I mean, I remember seeing there's like an increase in like substance abuse often.
Oh,
for women
absolutely.
Suicide.
through it, suicide.
Yep.
Alcohol, all of
Yeah.
it. Yep, self-medicating.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting when we do Surrendering the Secret, a lot of women haven't tied some of those behaviors to their abortion.
Oh, wow.
And after going through it, they're like, wow, okay, this is kind of making sense now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. I mean, it really is. So it is interesting because I mean, I've never been alive in a time until after Roe v. Wade was overturned that, like you just said, that it wasn't completely normalized. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's speak to that. I mean, so that was last year that the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. I mean, definitely a moment worth celebrating, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys remember where you were when you found out?
Our phone started ringing off
Like
the hook.
crazy. Yeah.
It wasn't a celebration in Colorado.
Right, because it just goes back to the states.
Yep.
And now we're the state that's like I hate to use the word, but like abortion tourism is really the phrase.
Yeah.
So it's the first step, right? Is the first step in, and anyone that had those laws that kicked in eventually or being challenged in court where it's like down to 15 weeks or 6 weeks or all the way banned, like for them it's woohoo party. But yeah, for us we're now like the destination.
The work really
Yeah.
starts.
I think in 2022, I think I read that out-of-state abortion was up 60% in Colorado.
Wow.
And yeah,
it's going to go up from there.
Yeah. And
well, I mean, you have companies like Amazon paying for your vacation. Like if an employee wanted to get an abortion, they'd pay for you. They'd pay for your flight, your hotel, and the procedure up to $4,000, which seems like, why would they do that? And it kind of goes back to the money, right? Like how much more would you spend on someone for maternity leave? Upwards of way more than $4,000 potentially. So there's almost, like a financial incentive for these companies to pay for that sort of, twisted tourism. And
supposedly Colorado, there's I think a bill. I don't know if it's gone before the House yet. Someone had just sent me an email last week that to just make it even more accessible to everyone, it's going to be free.
Oh wow!
So that, like I said, that hasn't come
then?
through yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you and I get to pay for that now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy.
So.
That's and we are. I mean, so what other states do you know off the top of your head? Obviously, Colorado. I think California is either right in line with us or just behind.
California, New Mexico.
Okay.
I know Utah has banned, and Wyoming, so we're getting a lot of those coming in
from those states.
We've had
right
calls though from Louisiana.
Wow.
One woman called. She was flying to Florida to go have an abortion. She was going to come to Colorado from Louisiana.
Wow.
So they're all over.
Yeah.
They're reaching out to Colorado. It is a destination abortion state now.
Yeah. That's just a crazy concept to even think about, that someone would go on like a trip for that. I mean, in actual medicine, there's a loaded term, but I think it's true. In actual medicine, you might do that if it's like a really good heart hospital and you have a really severe heart issue, right? But for it to be just for this, elective procedure that isn't, I wouldn't even call it a procedure by technical terms of definition, even though that's what it's labeled. It's like just a medical procedure, right? But yeah,
crazy world.
So what is that changed on the ground? So Roe's overturned. There's initial celebration. But obviously here, like you said, we're the forefront of one of the most loose states with our laws. Your phones start ringing off the hook. And now there's laws making it harder to market. I mean, just tell us about the past year. It's been sort of a whirlwind, right?
Yeah.
That's one way to put it.
A little bit.
It's a learning curve.
What sort of challenges have come up?
Well, one of them was, she's sitting here in the corner. We hired a marketing person and we don't know what to tell her to do because they keep changing all, the rules on us. And so that has been a challenge.
So you got your work cut out for you. Week to week, yeah.
I mean, that, just that right there, one little thing has made it hard. But The other thing that we're always a little concerned about, or is in the back of our mind, is, you hear all the time that we are known as fake clinics.
Sure.
And that they send in actors.
Oh, really?
Yes, to try and see if they can trip you up,
Sure.
whatever.
Wow.
And what that does is it puts you on your guard and help. And we're not manipulative, but it makes you be a little more careful, I guess, in getting real with someone and finding out exactly, what is your situation and what is going on.
Maybe sometimes too careful, because you've got that in the back of your mind.
Right.
It
You're always
affects-
wondering, like, is this person just a plant or is this a real person? Like,
and
they're
so good at twisting what you say. And
Right.
I mean, it's just the lies.
And you guys keep really good notes for that reason. I remember that being a big part of, like, the discussions we had.
Charting.
Like, your notes and your charts have to be spot on. Because if that comes up, God forbid, for any reason, there's a lawsuit or anything like that with one of those plants, you have to know. No, here's what we said. Here's how the appointment goes. Here's our policies and procedures. I mean, the handbook at Life Choices is efficient. It has, like, here's exactly how it runs. I mean, almost down to, like, the minute
the
you
handbook
could know
for
what to
the
expect.
volunteers.
The policies and procedures. I mean, it's
you
locked
have
down
to.
tight. You have to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, there's a lot to worry about. And then on top of that, like when the Dobbs decision did come down, all the pregnancy centers that were being attacked.
Right. I remember
that was another worry. So we've now had a shooter safety class. We had an
Wow.
officer come from here locally to tell us, how to handle that situation. Just things that didn't used to really be on the radar.
Right. Yeah, and it's almost like what seems like a move in the right direction has almost raised the stakes overall, right? I mean, now it's almost, well, not even almost, it is a more dangerous profession, higher risks, more scrutiny. And there's also been some things with private companies making it more difficult for you guys to reach girls, right? I mean, can you speak to that? What happened with Google?
Our
and
search engines have, they for a while, it changes all the time. That's the other thing, just trying to keep up. But for a while, the word abortion in a search, we would not pop up.
Right. And that was like an official policy at Google, wasn't it? Wow.
Yes. If you didn't perform abortions, then you would not be organically the first thing that would pop up.
Wow.
Where we used to always be.
Right.
And so we were like number 9 or second page during that time.
Wow.
We work with another marketing company that works only with pregnancy centers nationwide. And they do all of their marketing. And I had a Zoom meeting with them last week, and they're every day scrambling because Google's changing something that can or cannot be said.
Wow. I mean, you'd think the guys at Google would get exhausted eventually,
There's an agenda.
There's totally an agenda, yeah. And then, I mean, that's, to me, though, that's remarkable that it's gotten that difficult. And I mean, you're still going. You guys are still up. We're still
going. And they have
still
creative
committed.
ways of, helping to make our organic searches come up, higher just through blogging and
that's kind of a cool job. It's almost like corporate espionage. Like, all right, what Google do today that we have to figure out a loophole?
It's crazy.
Wow.
It is crazy.
I mean, that's, to me, the underdog part of this story. I mean, when you have state policy, federal policy, large political, funding groups and PACs and swaths of people with huge, deep pockets and private companies that control literally all of the data in our pockets against you. And this little tiny pregnancy resource center that's donor
just
funded.
Trying to give away diapers.
In Western
people
Colorado.
make a good choice.
Well, and that's a huge part of the insanity of the whole thing is having to deal with all this now takes a lot of our time that we used to donate. I mean,
it's like disciplining the child in the classroom that won't sit still.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
sure.
I mean, time that she used to be able to spend helping clients is now trying to
now you got to figure all this out.
Figure all this out. It's like it's horrible. It's such a
It's upside down. I
It's
mean,
upside down.
it's good as evil. Evil is good.
Right.
We're just seeing that more and more, I think, every day.
Right.
But we know who's in charge.
Right.
And we know who's
Yeah.
going to win. I mean, and we're not going anywhere.
I love that.
I'm like, bring it on, princess.
You're going to physically pick me up and move me. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. I mean, that just speaks to, I think that speaks to the whole Christian life in a lot of ways, right? I mean, because everything we're talking about is a very specific issue, very specific battle.
It's a spiritual
But
battle.
it's the spiritual battle as a
absolutely.
whole. I mean,
If
our
you don't
battle is
think
not
there's
against
a
flesh and blood.
spiritual battle going on in this world,
100%.
you got
I
your
will
head
say,
so far in the
since
sand.
even just being on the newsletter and receiving the text, just being near the center has made me aware of that in a really acute way. Because then you start to realize that, like, all these political kerfuffles, there's something behind that over there. Kerfuffles, yeah.
Kerfuffles.
And now we're in the fun. That's me putting
I think
it.
you made that up.
No, that's a word. Kerfuffle. Gina, you heard that? She's shaking her head. Yes, yeah. That's me trying to make it sound cute instead of
Yeah, what it
you
is.
know, instead of what it is.
Candy coated.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Some rotten candy on the inside, though. But behind all that is exactly what you said. It's there are forces that want to turn everything in the world upside down, and when you're fighting against those, and they seem to be having their heyday right now.
Oh, they're very good
in
at
the
what they do.
West. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So behind all that, then, I mean, from the perspective of approaching this as a Christian ministry, we have, I mean, quite literally the world against us. What do we do? How do you stay grounded? How do you stay hopeful? How do you find the motivation to keep going, day after day, when you got Google on your left trying to take you out, and then you have, maybe a girl you didn't hear from that you invested in a lot on your right that just left? What's the
Prayer.
Yeah.
It's a lot of prayer, and it's not just my prayers going up. It's all, we have so many supporters that are praying for this ministry every day, all the time. It's a little mind-blowing. I mean, I'll run into
Absolutely.
somebody off the street and they'll be like, I prayed for you all weekend. And it was like, really?
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's prayer. And,
Oh,
and it's like keeping your focus on God, because you do take it home.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of our trainings, is that you don't own this.
Right.
You can't own it. This
Right.
isn't your decision to make. God gave us all free will.
Mm-hmm.
And these women have free will.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're called to do is love them, give them truth, walk with them.
Well, and it's not even the abortion minded that we're talking about now. It's people's. I mean, we have clients that come in that they've had the baby. They're trying to muddle through and do the best they can, and their lives are
They're struggling.
Yeah.
insane. I mean, they're dealing with, you name it, physical abuse, drug addiction, either themselves or their significant
Partner,
other
yeah.
or whatever. I
Wow.
mean, the list just goes on and on and on. So, yeah, I mean, it's not just the abortion,
Yeah,
but
it's
taking
everything.
it home. It's like, I think that's one of the biggest things that dealing with life choices has taught me, is like, it's just amazing how some people live.
Yeah.
Either are forced to or choose to.
Right. Or some combination of both.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
And yeah, just the grace you have to have, and the surrender, right? The constant surrender. I'm guessing that's probably like the theme of being involved in a ministry like this, is you're constantly just having to surrender to Jesus.
But the other thing too is, it seems like when things are the darkest, he will send light, and we will have a victory. We will have that amazing 16-year-old girl that walked away, that we think was going to go have an abortion, and she's back in 2 days
Wow.
with her mom, who she couldn't tell, and they're saying, we can do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this together. And I have personally got to watch that and watch them thrive. I mean, not just survive, but thrive. So I think God always knows what we need, and he helps us to give us little victories here and there.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I think back to the banquet when there was one of those celebratory moments, and then the baby was actually there.
Yeah.
I'm going to get teary-eyed just thinking about it. It was so beautiful to think about all of the people in that room who are giving time, money, effort, prayers, blood, sweat, tears, all of it, doing anything they can just for that one child.
Right.
I mean, I wish that we could have filmed that moment and that someday when that child's 18, we could say, if you feel like someone doesn't love you, you need to see this room of people because they all put so much effort just so you could make it. It's for you. Like literally we would have done it. I believe this. I think everyone in that room would have done everything to build that center from scratch just for that one baby. And if that's all we ever did, it'd be worth it. Right?
Yeah,
just
a
one
wonderful
human
picture.
life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's all I could see. I was like, because there she is, beautiful baby. And everyone here is like, all of us, for you.
And mom is happy.
Yeah.
And grandma's
happy and thriving. And it's beautiful.
Special.
I just saw them the other day, actually.
Yeah.
She's really cute.
Doing great.
Yeah, doing great.
Doing so good.
Nothing but smiles. And then we had our little one, and they were kind of interacting, and I was just like, that's a special moment, too. It was really cool. Because then, I mean, that's the other beautiful thing in a small community like this is these people that we get to serve, they become our community members and our friends after that, too. So it's, I mean, I'm sure in cities that might not be quite the same dynamic, right? What's, can you speak to that?
No, I can't.
Well, not from the city, but, in a smaller town, because you're probably seeing some of these people out, out and about. And,
yeah. And that's the other thing. Like a lot of times they walk out the door and we don't know what they decide.
Right.
And there has been times we've thought for sure, oh, she went and had the abortion, and we'll be somewhere, 6-7 months later, and she'll come running up with a big belly and say,
you're like,
you guys really helped me, and I'm keeping my baby.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's great when that happens.
Yeah. You're just like
especially
out at Freddy's
when it's
getting
out
ice
of
cream
nowhere.
and then that happens. Yeah.
You're not expecting it.
Wow.
Makes it all worthwhile.
What a gift. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the texts. So one of the things they do is when you have someone, is whenever they first reach out, is that when the text gets sent?
It can be a call or a visit.
Call or a visit. And then everyone that's on the list gets a text of basically pray. Not this one, I think is what it sends out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then there's a follow-up if they choose life, that she chose life. Those texts make my day.
Absolutely.
Especially when you get that first one, it's like, okay, I'm stopping everything. I'm going to pray, shoot up a couple prayers. But when you get that second one, it's like, it could have been the worst day of your life. And that turns it around for me every time.
And, to speak to that, I've been in the room with that woman when that text goes out, and you can see countenance change. You can see things shifting and changing. So it's everything.
Wow.
Makes a difference.
It really is. I mean, I think this ministry really is serving the least of these, right? I mean, from the messiness of their lives to children who in the womb quite literally have no voice. Like they are literally voiceless.
Helpless. Yeah.
Helpless. Yeah. To the fullest degree you can be. I mean, everything you guys are doing is constantly impacting exactly who Jesus talks about, right? Like when you serve the poor, the naked. I mean, this is... So yeah, if you want to really do some Matthew 25 ministry, find a pregnancy resource center and get involved.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
And even if it's just with your prayers.
Sure. What are the biggest ways to get involved besides obviously praying? Can you speak to that? Because I think I'm thinking about my audience, a lot of Catholics. This is a very important issue for Catholics and Christians. It's, one of the most important ones in our culture right now. I think a lot of people form their opinion. They might learn about it, learn how to argue about it at Thanksgiving, but they don't know what to do beyond that. So, if someone's listening and they're going, man, I'm fired up about this again, just like I was when Roe got overturned. Like I want to do something. I don't know what to do. How can someone get involved?
I'm going to get a Charlie horse.
I would say, do I need to move?
I'm literally going to get a Charlie horse.
Oh no, we gotta. Do you need to stand up for a second?
I do.
Okay.
Sorry.
Clay's
sitting too long.
Clay's subbing out.
Ouch.
Oh no, did he get it?
Well, when he goes and
we're gonna cut that. We're gonna cut that into a clip. Clay's Charlie horse to be
over and over again.
Oh yeah. And don't move. Oh man. Well, I should. Sorry, I put you in the corner where you couldn't just freely leave. Anyways,
so I think probably one way they can get involved is to find out at their local pregnancy center if they need any volunteers. And, like with us, we don't just throw a volunteer into that abortion-minded room. That's usually not what happens. It's a lot of training. It's usually staff. It's our nurse that will meet with them. But so you don't need to be afraid. And even if you would end up somewhere where you would have much training before that would happen. But volunteering can look like helping in the baby boutique. It can be helping with an event. It can be doing parenting Okay.
Yeah.
Parenting classes, doing that mentorship, one-on-one, building relationships with those people that come in. And then, of course, financial. There's always financial needs. As I mentioned earlier, everything that we do is free, all of it. And we are actually getting ready to add on STI testing. STD, STI, it's now called testing, and that will all be free. And so will the medicine.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, so other pregnancy centers that are doing this, they need the funding. We need the funding to be able to be that resource for these people, and our whole goal in that is to build relationships. To have them come in, they come in with an active STI, it gives us a chance to talk to them about their lifestyle.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's a huge component to this too, right? Is I think of all the educational programs you guys do in like middle schools and high schools. There's a huge aspect of prevention too, right?
Yes.
I mean, if we can reach people and get them to be thoughtful with their choices on the front end, then that can prevent them from having a pregnancy that they would potentially want to abort.
That's the goal. We'd love to be out of business.
Yeah.
That's the goal. So we do education for teens and preteens, knowing their body and how their cycles work and how you're made, what your core values are. And even though we're faith-based, a lot of times when we go do these programs, it's not like in your face, but it always gets tied back in.
Yeah.
You were made for a purpose. You were made beautiful. All those things that a lot of times this age group isn't hearing.
I was going to say that must be an impactful thing because, I mean, I remember when I was growing up, it was like there was all sorts of messaging about what you should be like, what you should look like, how you should.
There still is.
Yeah. I was going to say it's only gotten worse from what I've seen.
Well, especially with your devices.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much pressure of like you have to look like this Insta famous model, or you have to have this many dating relationships by the time you're out of college. You have to have these many sexual encounters by this. There's so many like false milestones that have been created just to feel like you fit in. Really, and not really, most of it's like none of anyone's business. Like it doesn't matter to anybody if you don't date till you're 30. I think he's ready to come back in.
Sorry. That's embarrassing.
Oh, that's all good. Those chairs are great, but probably not to sit in for a prolonged amount of time. So,
long legs.
like we said, he's a big guy. He's tall.
Sorry.
You're good.
Like 7 feet or something.
Yeah.
5'20".
But yeah, we were just talking about, I mean, the preventative edge of this whole thing. You have a generation that's being raised by TikTok, unfortunately. Lord help us. Because it's just, a lot of it's just garbage on there. And then to be able to have someone come into your school, it's a real person that you can talk to. I mean, that I can only imagine.
If they let you in.
If they let you in. Well, right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 'cause I'm sure that's been a challenge, huh? Yeah. Are you still able to get into some of them, or pretty much?
No, we haven't been in the schools for years.
So it's mostly like churches and.
Or, we'll try and do a workshop at our place of business. At the center.
Right.
Yeah. But I think that's about to start flipping. I feel like we have a new, our RN is now doing some of the education, and we're collaborating with some other places here in Montrose. So
praise God, yeah, we need it.
I think we're gonna see a bit of a shift. I don't know if we'll get in the schools, but pray for that, because
that would be huge.
Oh yeah,
that would be huge.
These kids need to hear this.
Yeah,
it would be huge. And I think if nothing else, the STI testing will probably, once we can get into the school and let them know, hey, we've got this happening. Right.
One thing I wanted to mention, talking about what can you do if you want to get involved in a local pregnancy center, is I would highly recommend that you just go take a tour. We love it when people come visit us and just come and see what we're all about and what we do. If you're on the fence or you've been thinking about doing this, just go talk to them.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
I think it does make it very real to see it, to see the rooms, to see the baby boutique, which I want to come back to in a second. I think that was like when we learned about that. That's the coolest thing. That, I mean, like that's the incentive to take the classes, right? Is that you get baby bucks and you can use baby bucks to get free stuff. But you're like, that's a huge deal for people, especially if the finances are a concern, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know for us that was we didn't really need it, so I think we were just like, oh well, we'll do the car seat program, but we don't, we have people giving us diapers like crazy and stuff, so we can give them to someone else. But to be able to provide that for somebody.
Yeah, and what's cool too about the boutique is everything in there is donated. So a lot of our clients will go through, they'll get stuff, and then they start donating.
Oh, wow.
And so it helps teach them too how they can be a part of this whole circle.
Sure.
And then we've been Target has been super generous to us. They just donated, I think, 18 brand new cribs in a box.
Oh, wow.
So, community also helps us with stuff.
Corporate Target must not.
I know. They must not know. Yeah, don't tell them.
Wow, that's awesome, though. That's really
Yeah.
cool. Because, I mean, I think that's just one of the cool components. And then we had kind of mentioned it earlier, but all the ways in which, like trying to start a men's program and get dad involved and turn this into a family effort. We have prevention. This is so much more than just that initial appointment with someone that has a pregnancy.
Oh, yeah.
That's a surprise.
Huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Huge.
And I mean, it's a pretty small team. How many people you don't have that many people on staff right? Like, less,
We're all part-time.
all part-time.
Yeah.
Volunteers.
We're open 3 days a week
Man.
right now.
Yeah. It's amazing what you can make happen, though, with some
I know.
dedicated people who care about a cause, a lot of prayer, and some money, some fundraising. Yeah.
And we have the most amazing staff and volunteers and support group. We're truly blessed.
We are blessed. Yeah. We could use more clients right now, though. That's kind of dropped off, and I don't know why.
Well, the whole Google thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I was say they're
I
making
think
it
that's
as
part of it.
difficult as
They
possible.
are making it difficult.
to reach people.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. I remember we had kind of talked about that, and I think you and I were talking about it a couple times, like at nights meetings and stuff. I mean, just the challenge of this ministry is just increasing. It feels like every year, every week, even. But the resolve is the same. I think for this,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, our mission hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Not a bit. Not a bit.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed at all. With all the new things
Right.
thrown at us and everything, the mission is still the same mission.
We've doubled down, if anything, tripled down.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
For people who are listening who are local or maybe close enough where they might drive down, what are some things that Life Choices is doing this summer that, events people can come out to, fundraisers they can get involved in?
Well, we have our Walk for Life June 3rd.
Okay.
And it's going to actually start at St. Mary's.
Okay.
And it will end at St. Mary's. And we'll have great food, and it's a fun day.
Are you going to get in the dunk tank
Family activities. For $100, you can dunk me.
again? Last year someone dunked her. Well, actually they missed, and then the kid ran up and smacked it.
I have a video of that.
Yeah, I got a slow-mo shot of that happening. Yeah. It was pretty funny. So
yeah, $100 you can dunk the director, $200 you can dunk Clay.
Ooh. I feel like you would just
He
kind of
didn't
like
know
barely move and your knees would be wet, and that's about it though, huh?
Sometimes there are advantages. of being
Yeah,
tall.
that's one of them. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
really fun event, and there's
It is.
like hot dogs and hamburgers and bouncy houses for the
Brisket.
kids.
Brisket.
Oh, was it brisket last year? I got
And
food
this
too
year.
late. Oh, there's gonna be brisket this. I will be there. So if you guys want to come hang out,
Smoking 6 briskets, so
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get in the food line early this year. Last year I was just filming, so I think I got there and there was like,
Oh,
just-
right. You
yeah.
were filming.
Yeah, fun for the kids, bouncy house, all that
yeah.
stuff. So
Are we still? Is Taco Tuesday already done? Are we still doing?
we won't do another one till fall probably.
Okay.
And this summer we don't really have too many events. We'll be having a booth at Night Vision.
Okay.
A diaper changing booth.
When is Night Vision?
It is the
This
week
year?
after it's the 8th and 9th
Okay.
of
Oh, it's gonna be a
June. They
busy
moved it
month.
up. Yeah.
Busy month for you guys.
They're
Yeah.
all busy.
Yeah.
We're all busy.
There are no dull days around here
No.
anymore. No.
And then we have our banquet in October.
Okay.
And Matt Hammett is going to be our speaker. He used to be with Sanctus Real, which was
Oh,
a
yeah.
Christian.
Wow, that's funny. I didn't know him by name, but I know that band. I
Yeah.
listened to them in high school.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that should be really
That'll
good.
be really
Yeah.
good. Last year's speaker was great.
He was
He
awesome.
was awesome.
Yeah.
He was fun.
Yeah. That was a good time. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on and sharing about your ministry.
I want to
Yeah.
talk about one thing
Sure.
if I could,
Yeah, please.
and that's the men's group that we've gotten started.
Okay.
I just think that it is so important. This world has been telling men the wrong thing for
Yeah.
generations. I mean, it's so fouled up. Your job was to make a paycheck, and then if you're, as a dad, that's your job, and then
that's the
you're
only
done.
requirement. Sure.
And what it is to be a man, and just everything is just, and there's a realization happening. Like I said, that conference I went to in Dallas year before last, I was just blown away at. It was at one of the mega churches in Dallas, and the place was packed with men that are just hungry for these programs to kind of lead the charge to change this misconception of what it is to be a man.
Right.
And it's just, this program is just phenomenal. It does everything. I mean, it starts out, there's just different. It's a 13-week program.
Okay.
But it's all about, it starts out basically figuring yourself out.
Right.
Which starts with, how were you raised? How did your dad treat you when you were being raised? Is there scars there that have to be dealt with first, that type of thing? And there's just the networking. If you get a bunch of guys together, there was a guy there that had just done his income taxes at one meeting, and and he's like, "Oh man, I got to pay so much money," and just the conversation started out. Well, did you claim this? Did you do this? No, I didn't know you could do that. And
love it.
Hooked him up with this, somebody's tax person that does it for, I mean, it's just the networking, and you're not in
alone.
this alone.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of men today are alone.
Oh, absolutely.
And so to build those bridges, this is a huge topic that I think is kind of becoming important in culture in some ways that are unhelpful. Like, you have certain figures rising that are speaking to the whole masculine crisis. Like, you guys know who Andrew Tate is, that whole debacle. I mean, he really spoke to, in a negative way, that audience of men who haven't had strong father figures, that don't know what to do with, the assertiveness that's natural to men. And he's very, like, macho, like, learn how to fight, sleep around as much as possible. And that has taken off, and everyone's like, where's this coming from? I thought I thought feminism killed this whole thing, and it's like coming back in a huge way because men don't know what to do. They don't know how to deal with who they are as men. And then in some good ways, there's lots of stuff like these programs, right? And then there's people, like, if you guys know who Jordan Peterson is, his whole thing is like, learn how to clean your room, like, take responsibility for your life, set out a goal and, like, achieve them, and set a purpose, and know what you want your legacy to be. You don't have to be like your dad if he was, a jerk and treated you poorly. You can change that, And I think for so long there's just been this vacuum. I think just in children in general of, like, what your purpose is, but especially in men.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, turn the television on. Every commercial, every sitcom.
Dad is either dumb or gone. Yeah.
Or he's just this total buffoon.
Yeah.
Men are idiots, and it's just it's everywhere, and it's just insanity. But what this program is all about is just to give you the resources to be the best dad you can be, the best husband, the best person you can be. And it's a process. It's everything from and it's not for newborns. I mean, it starts, obviously there's parts of it that are a lot of, it's probably more popular with guys with newborns.
Sure.
But there's guys there with 9-year-olds that are acting up in school, and it's like, how do I deal with this and not be just reactionary and paddle their butt or something? Come up with a plan. What every kid is different. Psychologists, I think that's one of the huge things that's got one of the many things that's got the world so messed up is that it's like, you have to do this with your children.
Sure.
Well, what works with this kid doesn't work with that kid. Everybody that has multiple kids knows that every one of them is different.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's like you come up with a plan. This is what's important to this my daughter or my son. Whoever it is, and when next time they act up, this is how I'm going to deal with it, and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, we'll adjust, and don't just be reaction. I mean, it's just it's just all of that, and it's. I think that the world is finally starting to realize how important the dad's role is in raising the kids.
Yeah, once we got rid of dad, it all went downhill real fast.
It did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Poverty and everything else.
Everything. It all comes back to the dads. It really does. It just keeps coming back to the dads. I mean, like we were talking about before, the numbers of abortions that wouldn't happen if dad
was involved and was
supporting. And just, I mean, things like playing with your kids, the importance of roughhousing with your kids. I mean, that's where they learn boundaries.
And my little daughter, she's crazy. She's so into roughhousing already that I'm like, oh man, I have to be careful. But we'll set some pillows out on the couch and I just kind of toss her around. She loves it. I think she's nuts, but it's so cute.
But it teaches her boundaries.
Yes.
Where is that line? You know, and if kids don't have that, they don't know where that line is.
And they want them, right?
Adults.
Kids want those rules. They thrive when they know what's expected and how to do well and what's crossing the line and how to, But in the society that's trying to get rid of rules altogether, trying to get rid of even like natural law, right? And biology even, right? I mean, just
Lord
to kind of mention that just a little bit. Some of the problem is we don't even know what men are in some sense. Some people are trying to redefine it, but yeah, I think about this a lot because I think it goes all the way back to not just the sexual revolution, but even pairing all of that ideology shift on the family and how all that shifted so much in the 60s. But even that's on the heels of World War I and II, where we had a lot of men that didn't come home. So there's a physical vacuum, like a lack of dad because he went and fought and died. And then you have this huge ideology shift to, well, we don't need him anyways.
Right.
And man, we're just reeling in the consequences of that. So I think you're right. That is like a pivotal part of the whole puzzle, right? You know, it comes back to the family. Like the end of the whole thing is about it's all about the family, you know.
All about the family.
Right. I think the West is so focused on the individual, you know, like individualistic ideology to the max. Like it's all about me and what makes me happy and what I want out of life that we've kind of forgotten that it's like, well, where did you come from? Yeah, you came from a unit, and that's where your
and the whole
identity comes from.
Relativism, you know, you do you, and I'll do me, and everything will be fine. Yeah. You know, it's like, no, if somebody's doing something stupid, you need to tell them there's.
I was gonna say, it's always funny to be like, well, what I'm gonna do is punch you in the face, and are you gonna be fine with that? No. So like, there's clearly relativism only works. Well, it doesn't work. You know, it only works when you don't actually come into contact with each other. Then you're isolated. Then you're, all sorts of issues. So.
But one of the other neat things about this program is it kind of is the guys that are in it's small groups. You know, I think there's 9 right now in our group, and it's led by somebody who went through the program before.
Oh, that's awesome.
And thought, you know, it helped him so much. He became a believer in how important it is and did more studies and learned how to become a group leader. So it's not the same guy doing it over and over and over and over.
That's discipleship, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely. So, you know, you have new faces and, you know, and everybody attacks things differently. And so, you know, hopefully these dads will go out and say, man,
bro, you got to come to this group.
Yeah. And it'll just grow and.
My understanding is a lot of them came back.
Oh, really?
Second time.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So
they're forming like a community.
They are.
That's part of the program. Is and when the 13 weeks is up, they stay in touch. They go fishing together. They do things together, hiking, whatnot.
They've built real relationships.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
Lasting.
Right.
Dad's got to have other dads. I think that's
Absolutely.
key. I mean, even in our parish, we've been doing some stuff. Like I've just been meeting with a group of guys similar age. And I mean, John, he won't have a problem with me saying this. He's like, man, for years I've gone here and never had this. And then,
so
you know,
important.
to have people running the same type of race you are, dealing with kids and wives and all that, and everything it means to be a man and to how to do that well and how to deal with the frustration when you're not doing it well and how to grow. Yeah, I mean, it's so key. I mean, and if we needed it, our church is like men of God who are trying to do it right. How much more is someone who's never known that that's an option going to need that, you know? It's kind of like all these things. I mean, there's people out there that are unaware of this information.
Right.
And it's life-changing. And it's so crazy that the information that they might need to experience transformation is just like right there and they might never know about it. So,
Yeah.
We got to be the ones to go tell them for sure. I love that program though. That's good to hear that that's going well.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah, I think that's huge.
So important.
Yeah, it's good.
So how can people support your center in specific? If they're listening to this, maybe they are here locally, or maybe just hint guys, like if you're watching from a state that's not Colorado and abortion isn't an issue in your state, first off, that's awesome. How can we copy paste that and do it here? But second, maybe consider supporting a pregnancy resource center in a state like ours. We're at the forefront of that battle, and it's going to be tough. Actually, before we even get to that, like, what does the road look like for us here in Colorado? Like, what do you think it even looks like?
Who knows?
like I said, we're the forerunner of what's going on, not in a good way.
Yeah.
And I think we're even more liberal than California.
Wow.
That's saying something.
So where do we
That's
go
not the
from
trophy you
here?
want,
I
yeah.
don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Could there come a day or a point where they say you aren't a real clinic and we're going to close the doors on you? Is that I would never have thought anything like that's possible, but
Sure.
I've been seeing a lot of impossible things happen over the last couple of years.
Right.
Censorship kind of, the
There's no other word for it. It's censorship.
right.
Yeah.
Cancel culture, all that.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I don't know where Colorado, the map's going on. It doesn't look good right now unless we have a whole change in our government.
Mm-hmm. And that's probably going to start with a change in the hearts of everyone
Absolutely.
in the state. That's a whole culture shift,
Absolutely.
which we live in a part of Colorado that typically is more in line with, like, we'd love to change all those laws, generally speaking, in our community. But
And the thing too, like with the abortion issue, is it's not a political issue. It has been politicized.
right.
Absolutely.
It's a hard issue. And I think to speak back to what we talked about with the education, I can guarantee you no little girl is saying, when I grow up, I want to have an abortion.
Right.
Not happening.
It's a hard issue. It's something that, unfortunately happens to far too many women. And if they could be educated before that,
Right.
in ways to avoid that fall. And it
Yeah.
comes back to family. It comes back to units and dads and communication and
Yeah.
The family.
it's a whole big package.
That's where it's got to happen, because it's
The
not going to
family.
happen in the school.
No.
It's got to happen in your home.
I think one of the sad things that I just think about is how tragic is it that there's a whole, and I think about this with my daughter, there's a whole generation of young girls that probably do have a natural inclination to desire a family and children, and have been shaped to think that you either do that or you have a career, and that you can't do both. There's not amazing women that have done both and thrived and been amazing mothers and had successful careers, or that, heck, if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, there is nothing wrong with that. Like, if your purpose in life is like, I want to have a lot of kids and just raise them, and that's all I want to
And
do.
do the
That's
best
not
job I can.
all you want to do. That's like C.S. Lewis said that is the chief occupation, and all other occupations exist to support the chief occupation, which is the homemaker. And it's been so reversed, where it's like, well, if you want to do anything worthwhile,
Right.
don't have kids until you're probably at an age where it starts getting risky to
And
have
that's
kids.
where I think we need to change that rhetoric too. And
Yeah.
that's what we talk about with these young, they're already moms, whether they want to be or not, that
Right.
come in that say,
Right.
I can't do this right now because I need this job or I'm going to college or whatever, to be able to say, no, you can.
Yeah.
You can do both.
Right.
You can do both. There's support to help you do
Right.
both.
And how much more powerful of a story if you did, you
Right.
know? Like, to invite someone into the adventure of their life. Like, you could be the person who does both.
Yeah.
And then you could look back and say, wow, I got it all, I
Yeah.
have the kid and the job and the college degree, whatever it is.
Well, it's what's your definition of important?
Right.
I mean, there's nothing more important than raising your child right, and
Right.
and helping them to turn out to be the best human being they can possibly be. What's more important than that?
Yeah, that's a legacy right there for
Yeah.
sure. Because they're going to impact more people than
Yeah,
my little video business will.
You can
Like,
go get a job and make 6 figures all day long, but is that more important than?
and you can't take it with you when you die.
Right.
the six-figure salary, or the Bugatti, or the Tesla, or whatever it is. Yeah.
So,
No, absolutely.
yeah,
No, I think that's huge.
family is
Mhm.
where it's at.
Yeah, I mean it's the base unit of society. So when you start to attack it, it's no wonder that we get
It
to where
is
we've gotten
under
to.
attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, so in that vein, I mean, like we were kind of saying, that we're at the forefront of that battle in the worst way possible. How can people, whether they're from Colorado and they live in our community or not, and they just want to be generous, how can they find you? How can they support you?
They can go to our website, which is lifechoicesmontrose.org. That would be the best, easiest way for them to find us.
I'll put that in the description.
I think there's a donate or give button on that website, so they can do that, or they can contact us. Our local number here is 970-249-4302. And yeah, they could call and chat, and maybe they have a story they want to share.
Sure.
Well,
And if they're here, they can stop in, right? Schedule
absolutely.
a tour and see.
Yeah.
Just give us a call and set up a time or something, so we're not in the middle of ultrasound.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't just walk in. Yeah. Please call.
But
Yeah.
like I said, we love when people show up and we show them around and what we do, and a lot of them. I mean, it's a neat place. It tugs at your heartstrings. And
Yeah. There's a neat little video on their website, I think, about what they do.
Yes.
Kind of shows you around a little bit.
Who made that?
Who made
I
that
don't
video?
know. Some weird kid with really long hair. He kind of looks like a hippie. It's a good disguise, though. I've been saying this. Like I look like I would not agree with anything that I actually believe, and that has its advantages sometimes, and just in the world at large. But it's getting hot. The hair's gonna probably go soon.
Oh.
As it gets hotter, I'm like,
That's the thing, though. Like in the pregnancy center, you cannot judge someone by how they look when they walk in.
You have no idea what might come out.
That.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm sure that goes both ways. You might have people that you're like, man, you look like a mess, and then they're pretty, like,
Right.
oh wow, and then you have people that look put together, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah. Yes.
Sure. Cool. Well, guys, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank
and
you.
It's been fun.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it
been
was
good.
fun.
to
The
talk
Charlie
about-
horse.
What's that? The chair. Hey, you got something you can take with you to remember the experience.
There you go.
Tonight when you're like, my leg is all cramped up still. You can. Oh, that's funny. But yeah, it's just been wonderful to talk about this, and I'm sure everyone listening can kind of benefit from learning
Hope so.
what it's like on the ground, what you guys are seeing every day. And I mean, at the end of the day, guys, if you can't do anything else, at least pray. If you're praying a rosary, do a decade of it for Life Choices and for pregnancy resource centers across the country.
Absolutely.
I mean, I always try to remember it if I'm doing like a chaplet of divine mercy or whatever I'm praying, like if I can just have the intention to support. And then the texts are great. That's a great reminder, because then you're like, I mean, obviously something is happening that's immediately prompting it, but like it's a neat experience in a way, because you get to pause your day and say, okay, now we're going to war. We're doing something that really matters.
Yeah.
And we
Right.
get to pray for a minute, and that can be life-changing. Prayer isn't just this sentimental thing we do when something bad happens to avoid actually doing something. It's powerful, and it really,
Right.
Yeah.
it really
makes
does
a difference.
something.
Makes a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, everybody, thanks for watching. If you stuck around to the end, let us know in the comments and share this video. Usually I say share it with someone you think could benefit from it, but honestly, with this issue, just share it. I think everyone needs to see it. They need to hear it. They need to have some of those myths busted, that we're really here to support the woman before, during, and after, the child before, during, and after, and even the dads and the families, whole community. We're here for all of that. And so, if we can get the word out, and someone that you send this to hears that side of it, and that could change their mind and their hearts, and that eventually could maybe change Colorado's policy, which would be great. So I mean, if we can go from Roe versus Wade being in effect to being overturned, I let all the demons out from under the rocks, but I think we can go from there to no abortion in the United States. Hopefully within my lifetime, Lord willing. That's a lofty goal, but I think that's the one I'm going to pray for. So I might have to live for a long time, though. I might have to be like 110.
Maybe
so
not.
we'll see.
Maybe not. He's in charge.
Anyways, y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share it with someone you know, and we will see you next time. All right, we're off.